Hello, everybody, and welcome. For this is the last time that we shall showcase a Mappool, as it is the grand finals. I am Juan Crystal commentating this alongside no others than Halo
Hello, everybody.
and Shu.
Hello, everybody, and this is going to be yet another exciting showcase. We've got 17 exciting finger-licking maps here, so let's get started. Got a busy set of maps, so we have no time to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get right into it. What's going to be the first one?
This is going to be the stamina map. It's going to be...
When you see it, there it is.
There
Going
we
to
go.
be categorized by Croquet. This is Progress 1.0.
This was for Japan tournament, right?
This was for finals of Japan Mania Tournament. That is right.
Yeah, cool. This is gonna be a almost 230 BPM stamina turn. Clocking it at 3 minutes, almost 3 minutes and 40. Relatively dense, and not a lot.
I mean,
of breaks
I
from what
wouldn't say
remember.
relatively dense. I would just say actually dense. This is just a dense chart all throughout, and it's
True.
very fast already. Like,
Yeah.
230 is no joke. Sure, it is manageable for most players, I think, up to this level. The problem here is the length, as is very usual in the stamina picks. You can hold through this for the first half, maybe a little bit more, and that's perfectly fine. But the thing is holding throughout the entire thing as your stamina drains and drains.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we have this position which is light, and it's fine.
Yeah, and whenever the chart just kicks into overdrive, it's just dense JS all the way. No other way to talk about it. Just very dense. Quite trilly, too. Does not
Hey.
shy away from long one-handed trills and very heavy anchors.
That was all right to say. Like, there's a fair amount of pretty long anchors, especially on the outer columns on a chart like this. It gets tricky because those outer column anchors can easily transition into one-hand trails, and that's usually
Yeah,
what drains your stamina the most. And especially when you're like this deep into the chart, and probably on the last quarter we'll see this repeating again. It can get very draining, and you can drop so many bad judgments, even misses. You can chain miss a lot as well in charts like this if your stamina is not holding on to the.
Yeah, certainly.
pass.
Any anchoring chart is just CB based as soon as your stamina starts to run out. And yeah, there we go again. Just all that outer column focus is crazy.
And the fact that we are seeing Siloeska holding only like a 982,000 point on a map like this, it's scary. Like, the level of this pool, I'm sorry to spoil you guys, but it's really hard. Like,
Why?
this is nowhere.
Oh yeah,
I would
yeah.
not guess that it is, in fact, really hard because, well, this is only 229 BPM, so you might look at this and be like, oh, it's easier than Infinity Range. Well, guess what? Our testers thought that this map was harder than Infinity Range.
Yeah, totally. Just from the patterning, and also this section is particularly angry, very shameless about the finger focus, very stressing. Yeah, and you barely get any breaks too. That's like one of the worst parts about it. Like that what you saw is basically the only real break you get. Also a miss.
into
Yeah,
the
and it just keeps on going. There's like no breaks.
Yeah, that's the main difficulty of this chart. It has no breaks, and at the 1/8 at the ending can be tricky. And of course, this very last bit gets a little bit more dense than the previous
Yeah,
ones.
also hands and the anchors just merciless. This
Yep.
is kind of evil, not gonna lie.
This is probably the hardest part of the chart. It's right at the end where your stamina already gave up. So it really
Yeah,
comes down to that. Like, if a team is leading this map until the end, it's not decided. Like, the ending
Yeah.
is usually what's going to be deciding this map. For the last three teams remaining, though, Peru, France, and Thailand, I expect them to do fairly well on this.
Yeah, definitely. Backloaded stamina charts are always dangerous, but hope to see a fair bit of the teams picking it. Next up we have
This is going to be our Rice Hybrid Zombie Circus 1.1 by Alex Dunk.
yeah.
Yeah, so
This
this is going to be pretty long. It's 3.5 minutes. Good thing is there's going to be quite a few breaks. Bad news is the ending is difficult, and so are other
Ending?
sections, but especially the ending.
yeah, definitely.
So that's why it's
Um,
called bad ending, whatever.
well, at the very least, something we can say meanwhile is that this chart is very sectioned in a way. You're gonna have medium difficulty sections, and then very high intensity KIs and focus sections, where the difficulty very noticeably ramps up in terms of the patterning. We're getting into one of these right now, so fasten your seatbelts.
I mean, I like Vocaloid, so I'm okay with this.
Yeah, well, you're Juan Crystal, so
True.
shut up.
That's my name.
That's the first section is some LN accuracy mixed in with these harsh bursts.
Yeah, and this first section is kind of a taste of what's to come in the ending. It's
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't say
definitely.
it's like exactly grand finals level this section, but like the length plus the relative
Yeah,
consistency that you have is like that's kind of why it deserves to be grand finals.
Mm-hmm.
in
That was
opinion.
the first more missable section. It was relatively streamy, despite its speed. Now we're gonna get a bit more of an LN focus section.
Bit of,
Yeah, and this
our
section
fault,
is
exactly.
going to be buffed from the original difficulty if you've played his original difficulty. So Logan, we got Logan to buff some of these elements, and it turned out to actually be playing really, really nicely.
Yeah, definitely. The section more focused a bit on releases. It's possibly the least physically demanding of the three hard sections, I would say.
But
But
you need to get to see the ending, which is the hardest part of the map, and it's
yeah,
about
and
to
it's
begin in a
and
couple
it's
seconds, I think.
yeah, and it's definitely what gains this chart its right focus repute. It this chart is
Mhm.
insanely backloaded, all about the ending, and you're about to see why.
So far, you have this consistency, this longness. Some of the bursts, the longness are kind of tricky to release, but into the ending where we're gonna get to see the most chaos. And those bursty transitions into the longness are pretty hard. The patterns itself are pretty cheesable, but getting good accuracy out of them is gonna be hard. If you cannot control this BPM, you're gonna miss a lot in here, especially with those very, very short long notes. Those staccatos are pretty tricky to hit properly.
Yeah, it's just really difficult. Then you get a bit more jack for you before the ending. A lot of these bursts.
Yeah. I guess all in all, I would say that this map is kind of comparable to Norza from last year's 4DM, except it's got some way more evil patterning, and it's 20 BPM faster.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Funny that we're gonna be seeing a full combo out of this map, and it's only a 970,000, some like 977k.
That's
That's kind of scary.
insane.
You can drop so much accuracy on this map. It's unbelievable. The fact that it's only 7.5 helps a little bit, but there's so many tricky releases, especially on the very short ones, that can easily cost you a lot of 200s. Even the ratios
Yeah,
where it gets tricky to hit.
there's so many staccatos in release rolls. It's just hell to act, especially in the midst of extremely dense ride sections. But that is Zombie Circus. And next up, our chart is
Our stream pick, this is going to be Sisters Noise from Eterna.
This is
Yeah.
kind of funny because when I saw this on the Mappool channel that Sister Noise was gonna get picked, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the replay, right? This sounds like a long note shot. Nope. No, it's not.
Oh,
so
no, you
This-
thought it was a long note chart because it's Fripside. Because
Yeah.
Fripside in the pool it's going to be a good pool.
Prip side good pool. Like
Pool
we
officially saved now.
definitely.
Beat and freestyle, like, come on, man, this is lovely. No Mappool card, by the way, updated, so we could like refresh the viewers what the OD of this is.
Oh yeah, so the OD is 8, the BPM is 160, which isn't any faster than last round. However, the patterns are a lot more sustained and the streams are trickier.
It's a very, very harsh patterns, and you have some sort of mini jacks transitions here. Like the breaks of the streams, which are usually the part where you recover your stamina, are actually the other way around, I think, here. It gets pretty fast, and you cannot lose focus on these sections, and you immediately jump back into more streams with a lot of trills. For the most part, they are like 200 trills, 200 trills, so it's not that big of a deal. But there are so many hidden mini jacks in this kind of charts, and especially like you have those many very minor flams, and it gets very, very tricky to hit.
Yeah,
very,
so
very
these can count as filler, but yeah, it's still quite easy to trip up on. And there's going to be another sort of stream at the ending, and that's really where your stamina is going to start to show. And it's really a battle of not just speed, but your stream stamina, as these patterns are really tricky. So if you lose your stamina, you're gonna trip up on them.
Those transitions, man, the 4-3-4s and the 1-2-1s are super hard to hit at this BPM, followed up by just a constant stream of notes that never stops. Those mini jacks are very, very tricky to hit.
Yeah, totally. Just crazy streams all around. It's a bit shorter than Close Your Eyes, but the extremely aggressive patterning and very sustained streams more than make up for it, despite having overall same speed. And next up,
Pick number 4.
We're gonna
I have
have
not seen any
our
LNs yet, so...
custom LN.
oh, another the spicy one. Let's go. This is
We're
really
going
easy, guys.
straight into this. This is the easiest chart of the pool, isn't it? This is only 4.4 stars, right?
This is fucking 4.5 stars, and it's harder than Ultra.
This is
It's
so
only
stupid.
4.4 stars. It cannot be that bad, is it? Well, let's see if this is the case. This is OD 7.5, by the way. Got nerfed from the OD 8. And you could argue this is somewhat similar to my other Function Phantom maps, but I will disagree. This is kind of a mix. Like, this is what happens when Function Phantom meets Timing Hell, I think. That would be the best way to describe it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's one of the...
Also say there's elements of Avalon no Oka with the gap spacing, but yeah, also the timing hells.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most striking aspect of this chart, possibly, is that despite its very high release difficulty, comparable to or harder than Story Presto, it is also very difficult to read and very difficult to keep combo on. This first section is already no joke, and it gets significantly harder.
Yeah, it's full of mini jacks. It's not too dense. That's the thing, right? You will get to see it by the replay saying, okay, this doesn't look too bad. But when you get to play this, for example, that part right on the 800 combo, the second column is so stacked with so many mini jacks that it's super easy to drop combo.
Also, a bunch of triple jacks sneak into you like they're...
This is way easier than Presta. This is way harder than Presta, rather. I don't think Presta is easier than this. It's harder than this.
Oh, yeah, this is crazy. And then we have this more releasey section. Looks calmer, but very tricky. And it goes straight into one of the hardest sections of the chart.
Yeah, those mini jacks into very long notes, very long releases, transitions are very hard. And now into the 3-note chords, you have to follow the vibe of the song for the anchors to be hit properly. But then you also have some hidden mini jacks in between that can trip you off very easily.
A lot of LN shields, a lot of hidden jacks. Just you gotta read the waves properly, the releasey waves, and then you get into the section where you have a bunch of mini jacks that you have to coordinate with LNs, with releases. Moments of
you have the jacks, and you have to add the 1/6 on top of that. It gets very bursty too. So this is arguably one of the hardest parts to coordinate of the entire map. After the extended releases.
Absolutely.
Get into a break now.
Jump stream.
There we go. And you get a relatively short quote-unquote break, because even the releases that this aren't free.
there's a little bit of lore about Integral Q, but originally we wanted this to be for semifinals, but we hadn't gotten it mapped yet. But by the time we got drafts and drafts on Twan, and it just kept on getting harder, and we're like, no, this is actually not semis material. This is not finals.
Yeah, it is grand finals, and right now we have one of the more interesting parts of the chart. Is relatively.
It is similar to the previous section, right? Where you get these extended releases with the music.
Yeah.
It actually transitions into somewhat embassy, but you also have more noises in the background that transitions into more LNs. And now add vocals on top of that, and we get this last bit. This is a Zero to Snow replay, and he's so good at this. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a very interesting section where you gotta manage jacks and releases as the chart ebbs and flows into full inverse, and you just gotta handle all the coordination that it throws at you. And now for our last session, this wraps up the chart, very similar to the very first hard part, but it's just, oh my god, this chart is just absolutely insane. It's just like 4,000 notes, you barely get a break, it's testing your releases all the time. It is very chokeable, very CBable. It's just gonna be a very interesting pick to see how teams prioritize it, how they deal with it. It's just insane.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see players pick this if they want to, and it's gonna be.
I wouldn't be surprised if this gets banned quite a lot, honestly.
Fair.
With that, we're gonna be going into our core jack pick. This is going to be Alice Blue by Mifa. And
yeah, let's go.
And you might think the BPM, oh yeah, it's 138. That's slower than 140, which was last week. But no, you're kind of wrong there, because it just drags at the end. That's the thing. There's 28 measures of chord jacks at the very end. You're going to be
tired. Yeah, the one thing that the Betrayal of Fate had in the player's favor was that the chord sustains were relatively tame, but this one is absolutely not restrained at all. It's just you're gonna be jacking and jacking endlessly for measures and measures and measures on end. Oh my god.
Yeah, and like, okay, so this is kind of similar to Far in the Blue Sky, where this beginning section is just kind of filler for what's to come. I mean, this isn't, I guess, like, the difference between this and the density and the Ki is less than that in Far in the Blue Sky, of course, but, like, it gets stamina draining in the end.
You get one break, savor it.
Yeah, I mean, you could also consider that start to be a break depending on how well you can hit the jacks, but as we get into GI, you're just gonna see, like, okay, these patterns don't look so bad, but they never end. That's the thing.
And there we go. The map definitely takes a step up in both density and anchor emphasis on this section. Just definitely a step up, and it's gonna be going on and on until the very end, basically.
And it just keeps on going on. There's no breaks. That's the 16 measure mark. There's gonna be 12 more.
A lot of triples, just showering you with triples. It does not end.
My god. This is.
And
this is
finally, we're going to be getting a break. But yeah, that took quite a while. That took basically the entire second half of the map to find a break.
Whew.
But that being said, I think that players can destroy it. Yeah. But that's our jack.
So yeah, let's go. Next up, we're gonna be having
our LN density pick, Insecticide by Penguinosity.
Okay, so hear me out. Hear me out. This is the easiest chart in the grand finals.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it kind of is. I think this one will get picked a lot.
It is really hard. That's the worst part, right? You would expect the easiest shot to be kind of easy. This is very hard, and it's very, very easy to just miss and get lost. That's essentially pretty much the theme of every Penguinosity for KLN chart. But this one specifically is probably worse than any other. With the V2 changes, this doesn't get as column lucky as it was in the past, but it doesn't make a difference, right? This is still really, really hard to hit.
Yeah. Also, we're playing unstable, I think, so we don't have changes yet. But yeah, this is absolutely bonkers. It's 199 BPM and just very dense all around. Like, the only saving grace for the players is that it is somewhat straightforward. And I use that very liberally. It is still very difficult, has some snap changes, complicated patterning, but at the very least, it is not very anchory, and it flows decently with its patterns.
I mean, this sort of transition with the 1/8 can get a bit difficult, especially the third column is a bit, but it's particularly tricky, I think, compared to everybody else. And once you get into this break, okay, you're fine. You get your time to breathe, but that was the easy part of the chart. The second half of the ending, it scales up pretty substantially, actually. It gets so much harder. Mostly because the rhythm just gets a little bit more confusing. The song in general gets more confusing rather than the chart itself. And you can see a lot of 200s being dropped here because those 1/4s are not easy to follow if you're not very familiar with the song.
Yeah, it is. It's one of these songs where you just kind of gotta practice. There's no other way around it.
Now into full 1/4s here. And into the ending now. Once you get this point, there's not much you can miss at, but a pretty tricky map. Sure, the player makes it look easy, but it's very, very simple to just miss and get completely lost. If you miss on the part where we saw 200s, you can probably get like 4 to 5 misses all in a row for just getting lost on the pattern.
And that's the straightforward chart for the LN. So yeah,
we still have a couple more.
Next map, this is going to be kind of a jump stream, kind of a consistency pick. This is Warp Ledge by Danny PX. This isn't the full map, so there is still like, it's not as stamina draining as the uncut version, which was 4 minutes, but
yeah, there we go. This is an interesting part. While we have 230 very long jump stream with very sustained density, here we have a 270 BPM 2-minute jump stream with a few more breaks. It is a lot more violent. Focuses much more on speed and physicality than just the raw stamina and consistency.
Yeah, so this is kind of in between a jump stream and a stream map. Like, as you can see, there are jumps in a stream, but it's not really that dense enough to qualify as like actual jump stream.
Yeah, it is for the most part a light jump stream pick, I will call it. But the BPM is so high that it's mostly about control. 270 BPM, it's some speed that not many players can control. I think the people remaining on the tournament, I think, will struggle, especially with this kind of transitions that get very, very wild.
Oh yeah, and the bursts, the legendary Danny PX burst that you saw in the qualifiers, they're back. But that being said, like, the patterns do flow well enough for players to likely be able to accommodate such a big jump. Well, I mean, accommodate is a relative term because all the other maps in the floor, like, also kind of guard.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
And then you get a pretty sustained jump stream. Small break. Overall, on the lighter side of jump stream patterning, but still the speed very much makes up for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say this is kind of comparable to Thinking of You from MW Speed 2021, except it's like on 1.2 or faster instead of 1.0. I mean, you've also still got to contend with some of the bursts, but, you know, that's kind of part and parcel of being a stream map. Oh yeah, I said 1.1, not 1.0. Yeah, 1.0 would be like 228, which is maybe here.
Again, the map doesn't really give you much breaks until the ending. And it's, again, for the most part, light. So if you can control to 270 BPM with some light jumps, then you should be fine as long as you hit the burst, of course. The burst in between, dude, they really did look like rough. Very rough.
Yeah.
Pretty sure the bursts were 1.6, though.
Yeah. Our next chart is gonna be...
Ooh,
it's
Hacker by Orca.
Yeah, this is our first SV. Since I haven't worked on the SVs this week, I've just decided to let myself be surprised, and I'm seeing the SV for the first time, just like you guys.
Yeah, so this is... I would say this is going to be more sight-readable than the other SV map, but I would say there are equal amounts of memo elements. Maybe a little more in the other one, but this one is definitely hard on the visuals, so you might as well just memorize it. And here's the thing, like, the rhythms change so much. It's like Mazy Metroplex. Like, you think it's one thing, but it's going to be the other. There's so many fake-outs that I just have to kind of go in the editor to turn it, so it might as well be a memorization. So
oh my god.
Really a very good classification. But
Okay, I love this. I kind of like this a lot. And it seems like you need to really know the song. Like, the visuals try to trick you a lot, but the patterns themselves are not too hard. And if you know the song, then you're just going to hit this fine. It's pretty... Like, the patterns are pretty predictable. I don't think there's any sort of part so far in the map that makes me feel like, oh, wow, that's a strange pattern. For the most part, it's straightforward patterning with very, very tricky visual fake outs and tricks, as you said. But if you know the song with enough anticipation, then you can probably sight read this, I'll say. Like, if you heard the song a couple times before playing it.
I do not think so. Like, you can probably get a 94 in sight read, but if any teams decide to practice, that is not going to be enough.
I think you could get a 96 on the sight read.
I'm gonna say that it depends on how well you know the song beforehand.
Yeah.
Like Mazy Metroplex rhythms are very... I don't think it's like out there to be unactable, which is like, again, it's another feature that I really enjoy about Orca maps, that like they're fair. So this is like along the same line. It's really great.
Yeah. And the visuals flow pretty well too. Can say that.
Paulie, come on. The point of saying this is sight reader was to see the team sight. Oh god, that's a first column right there. I like that.
Oh, that's cool.
The point is for the team to sight read this, and so we have fun. Come on.
No.
Yeah, I mean, don't sight read. Play the SVs. Unless like your strategy is like focus on the other maps, because there's like a lot of other maps in the pool. But you know, whatever. You we do we.
Chart, all things considered, very tricky, but also the patterns are kind of the part that makes it more accessible for players. So next up we have our Rise, right?
Our second hybrid pick, and this is probably one of the best maps in the pool. I'm so excited to see this being played. X7124 by Yeti. It's great. It's loads of fun. Let's get right into it.
This one is very cool. It follows kind of a sectioned approach, just like Zombie Circus, but the concept here is slightly different. Instead of like easy parts and hard parts, this is more of a hybrid where the Rise and LN are almost completely separated, until the very end at least. But first of all, we get this very flammy hand stream. Transitions to some jacks, quote unquote.
Yeah, so this part isn't like hard, it's just kind of adds flavor to the map. But now we're going to be getting to some harder parts. I mean, this part, before the break, is like probably also not the hardest part of the map. It's backloaded, just like Zombie Circus, but you know, the second half is where all the difficulty is, and as you said, it's like divided up in between LN and Rice sections, and you're gonna see exactly what we've got in store for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. First section is very disarming, but it really throws you in for a loop as soon as it starts picking up. Picks up with, and right here we have a bit of hard-on section, transitions into a bit of inverse. You're gonna be seeing that a lot. It's kind of a theme with this one, the university stuff.
As we get into this, we're just, yeah, this is just amazing. I feel like I'm gonna cry now. It's so great.
Go into that transition can be a miscatcher for sure, and now into some bursty jump stream here for the most part. Some mini jacks once in a while. This is definitely the Rice check of the map. The intro you had some tricky LN, some imbus of course, but now straight into technical Rise and imbus now.
Yeah,
and this is gonna be the hardest part of the inverse. You're gonna see some nasty shields. Oh man!
Ooh, nice 1/3. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
we
this.
get this really crazy section.
And you've got some speedy stuff right here. Right now.
Woo! Okay, that's pretty fast. Like it. Into the ending here, not much left of the chart. But of course, a couple mini jacks at the end could maybe decide the score after all. But that's just going to be all for X7124. Pretty fun chart, I think, for the most part. You can all agree this is a very fun chart. And I imagine this one being picked quite often, in fact.
Yeah, this is
It's a bit risky though, because I think most teams will be able to do well on this. It's like a coin flip kind of pick.
I'd say it's kind of similar to Black Ray from MWC or Soft. I mean, I think Black Ray has some more abrasive patterning, but like.
Well, yeah, obviously, it's a bit harder.
Fair. So hey, that was it for our second hybrid, and next up we are gonna have
our Rice pick. This is gonna be Stinger 1.05.
This is a doozy. I'll say that. Let's have
you seen my Luminar 1.1 and Yuguri 1.05 clear though?
Yeah, like this is really techy. Like 1.05, maybe not the most physically difficult, and it's like, wow. Also, like a lot of the LNs are removed for this part, and things are changed. So, well, none of the nodes are changed, but like a lot of the schlons are removed, so it's more ergonomic for players.
This is so tricky to hit because you have like a lot of dumpy-ish patterns and a lot of tech here. With the 1.05 upgrade, it gets so much harder too. Tech maps, even with the slightest increase of BPM, it can do or break a player completely. And this is a perfect example because the patterns get so much like stuffed. Like they are a lot more dense than what we are used to see in the 1.0 version, of course. And some of the split patterns here are super tricky to hit.
Yeah. The focus of this chart on mini jacks and very speedy streamy bursts makes it very sensible to rate, and 1.05 is just completely jacks it. It is just so hard to hit through any of these patterns. You're just kind of struggling all the time.
Yeah, and
I can see most teams avoiding this. So what were you going to say, True?
Nothing. This is Lem Guy, Stinger, usual. It's FFR, but it doesn't actually appear in FFR. There's a different chart for it on FFR.
I think because of the three teams that are remaining are Thailand, France, and Peru, I don't really expect this to be picked too much. But I could definitely see a more Rice-focused team to just go for this like straight out of the gates. Maybe that team will be Peru. Maybe Peru wants to go for this at start. But I doubt they have the physicality required to play this comfortably. So I expect this to be ignored until the end. Like I'm thinking, let's say Argentina 4-digit Mania World Cup 2 of 1 actually. Then this will be like the pick we go for to start. But I think at this point, the 3 teams remaining are so close on Rise that this might just be avoided.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But next up,
We're gonna have Autonomous by Penguinosity.
oh,
MVP
this one
reject
is
game. Let's
cool.
go.
So, guys, do you like schlongs? Did you
I,
enjoy specialists?
I
Then you
like the
might like
fact
this.
I like the fact that all the Rise maps had like single-digit grades, and all the Longno maps had at least 40 grades.
That's
Yeah,
because
it is.
different players are playing maps, are playing different types of maps, I guess. But yeah, Autonomous. It's here, it's clear, and we're ready to roll.
Yeah, definitely. Very. Get ready for a pretty difficult coordination section right in the beginning. Yeah, there we go. Revving up a bit. Other maps take a bit just hard. This one already starts to get a bit tricky. Basically, everything has a shield behind it. It's quite annoying.
Mini jacks in the beginning can be really, really intrusive.
Ooh,
And
yeah,
that's how we
these
roll.
mid dense Ellen section jacks are just really silly to hit and to read at all.
I like the mini jacks that you will expect them to be on the intense song, like intense sounds, but it's actually for the clacks, like here.
Yeah. And there we
And
go. Here it comes.
we're gonna be building up into the main key guy, which occupies basically the rest of the song.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
It's a bunch of very rolly, short LNs with extremely unstable, just ending snaps. So you really gotta do a lot of work to keep track of all the releases. There's a bunch of very short LNs. It's just a map that requires a lot of finesse, just all the time.
Yeah, and this is just like kind of example of how diverse Penguinosity's charting style is. Like, I was told this. I was talking to Logan about this, and he was just like, Penguinosity just has so many different charting styles, and you'd never expect like someone else to like have both inverse, Rice, and then something like this. Like yeah, it's kind of there's flaws. It looks like, yeah, I know, like relive moment, but yeah, it's definitely like Ellen ability stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Penguin has a lot of range on their sharding. Just a very capable of sharding many different styles of patterning comfortably. Does a great job representing the songs always. And this one kind of gets mini jacky at the end. This shard is a lot easier and a lot harder than it seems at the
There's a
same
one measure
time.
break
because
right
it's just
here.
like- because physically speaking, it's not that difficult at all. But it's just hell. Everything is much harder than you expect, and the ending is not easy at all to keep combo on.
This is more like a matter of concentration, I think. Like if you're very focused, then you're gonna probably crush this chart. But any sort of misfocus on you can cost you a lot of 200s due to how small the releases are, really. And the mini jacks can definitely trip you off. Those are probably the main reason why this chart plays a bit harder. That's what some people expect. And well, the fact that it's OD 6.8 and the player here got 45 to 100 should speak for itself. Those releases are very easy to mess up.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to be Autonomous, which is our third LN map. And now we're going to be going into our Rise pick. This is our second to last mixed Rise pick. When Written Death by Dylan vs. Fate Plan.
Ooh.
Is
OD9, by the way.
Yeah.
49
Oh,
and
4
4
minutes,
minutes.
49.
And it's just, this is probably going to be the hardest Rise in the pool. This is harder than Warpledge. This is harder than Ivory. This is harder than all the maps in the pool.
Yeah, it is just crazy. The collab between Veildex and Pope Gadget, very dumpy text, and it's gonna be going on for a whole 4 minutes, so get ready for that.
You gotta be ready just in general. The pool this round is super long. Like almost every map we saw so far is about 4 minutes. And this with only 9, it gets extreme. Like this map alone is very hard. Add only 9 on top of it, it gets extremely hard to hit properly with accuracy. And add on top that it's 4 minutes, so your stamina is gonna start to tank at the ending. This is gonna be a ban sponge, I'll tell you this much.
Oh yeah. If there is a chart to ban because of stamina or difficulty, this is the one.
I still think some teams might have an outside chance of picking this, but like it's not even like Toki, like it's short. It's just risky everywhere.
Yeah, and again, this is the kind of fix you will expect the Rise late game team to pick in general. But I think it's a very unique thing that this year's we have not really seen a Rise powerhouse get into the top 3. Like, if anything, I will argue France and Thailand are both very long note heavy teams, and Peru, they are pretty all-rounder for the most part. I think they might have this sort of structure as a team of a Rise late game team, but I'm not sure if they can hold on to these levels, and that's the problem.
And not only test your stamina for 4 minutes on very techy, awkward patterns, it also goes out with a bang. And that's it for Limerick Death. And what is the next chart?
Be our third hybrid. It's going to be Parsi by Arpaia 97.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so
RPF
this
chart alert.
so this will actually be uploaded by Rara Gigun, who had uploaded the original difficulty, but the OD is going to now be 7.5 instead of 5. And yeah, as you can see, like it's an Arpaia hybrid, so you know what to expect. It's like buy or not, except on steroid.
Yeah, totally. It is probably the more LN-ish of all the hybrids, just because of how it incorporates the LNs more sharply into the context of these Rise patterns. One?
I wouldn't know. I thought Hybrid 1 was, I mean, the first one we saw was maybe a little bit more Elenish than this. This is just like Emo, the hybrid that just mix it up all the time. You don't see many parts of the chart without Long Nose, but you also don't see many parts of the chart without Rise. So it's like a combination of everything. Those pattern shapes are fairly good to read, I think, in fact. Like, you can tell that whenever you have sort of a shield release or something like that, the gap stays pretty consistent and it creates shapes of patterns that are pretty easy to read. It's just a matter to hit them properly with the checks in between. If you can hold like through those kind of patterns, then you should be fine. For the most part, the chart doesn't really have much spikes. If you can read those, then
Yeah,
you
that's
should
a
be good
fair
to go.
That is a fair enough assessment. A bit of fin first, and then go into the final discharge.
Yep.
Very interesting.
The main thing about this part specifically, though, is that it gets fairly dense and seemingly out of nowhere, really. You wouldn't expect the song to get... Like, the song doesn't really get this dense, but the chart does. You have a lot of triplets and quads in between that can be very easy to mess up. But if you got that down, then the rest of the feeler in between the LNs is straightforward. So you shouldn't be missing all that often, other than the quads and the triples.
Yeah. So we did have a little bit of upload issues. So this we ended up getting our Gigun did change the OD to 7.5, and in fact there is like a couple of notes that were tweaked in this version to make it a little bit like easier in the burst. So we might be editing that. We might be asking a Rubber Gigun to edit that as well. But that being said, we're going to be going into our last Rise pick, and this is going to be You Show by Pizza69 and High 19.
Yeah.
Oh, 4.6 stars. This probably is another easy map. Right?
Absolutely, that is how it works. Have you not learned that like we can always trust star rating in every occasion?
You know what this reminds me a lot? How was this map called from Finals MWC that was super picked in general? Oh my god, I'm gonna...
Obligatory?
No, it's older than this. I'm gonna find it real quick.
But overall, it is a bit on the softer side. The bursts flow very well. It's not difficult to push through this, but I do think it's gonna be one of the more accuracy-oriented charts in the pool, and the very few.
Amber Starlight, that was the name. Oh my god, it took me so long.
Yeah, the
This
difficulty
Starlight.
isn't really derived from Amber Starlight's difficulty at all, but...
Well, yeah, of course, I'm just talking about map structure.
No, I mean, the ending, like, is not like Amber Starlight at all. It derives almost all of its difficulty from Epic. Spoiler alert, redacted, you will see. Wait for it.
Yep.
And here we go, there's mini...
Let's go.
Let's go! This is where the rubber hits the road.
Oh yeah, the mini jacks are where this really gets rough. Like, you have to mini jack in and mini jack out of these bursts and mini jack inside of them. It's just very, very rough all around. Just becomes suddenly very difficult to act, very difficult to control. You can probably still keep pushing through it with like raw strength, but like to really excel in this chart, you gotta have really fine control of all these.
Extremely good control, yeah. It looks like a very fun chart though. So it maybe the fun factor will carry you through this in training and eventually get good at it. But that ending, it's extremely hard to control.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is pretty interesting in the sense that it's extremely readable, I think. That was what shocked me the most from playing, but it is still so hard.
Yeah, with that being said, we're going to be going to our last LN pick, and this is going to be Quietish Ray by Felix Spade.
Ooh, alright.
Our LN wildcard pick, this
I think
is...
we have 41 200s on literally every Olympic.
Wow.
I think we have.
I think we have. It's an inside
It was exactly
joke,
41.
right? We secretly edited all the replays to have 41 200. But alright. By the way, this is a cut version. It's not per minute, so... yeah, just take that out of the way real quick. But yeah. This is a bit of an interesting one because, on some sense, it has patterns that are probably the most straightforward in the pool, even more than insecticide, meteoricide ones. But also, it just transitions through a lot of different patterning styles. It goes into like very long anchors with, yeah, like that. A lot of 3-column streaming, a lot of inversey stuff, a lot of releasey rolly stuff, a lot of jump streamy inverse, just basically every streamish LN pattern you can imagine. This map is probably gonna throw it at you.
It is pretty close to a density pick, I'll say. For the most part, the hardest portions of the map are those. But this sort of hybrid-ish transitions can be pretty tricky to hit, especially if you're using special skins, I'll say, that favor LN density reading. This can get pretty tricky if you're using those, because you will drop a lot of accuracy on these sections, which are not necessarily all that hard, due to like how those skins work in general.
For real, for real.
Yeah, and like if we had the original 4-minute version in, this would kind of just drag. So we cut it, and I think it's a fair enough assessment of the difficulty.
Yeah, definitely.
Overall, I think this might be the easiest LN map in the pool, though. So
Oh, yeah.
I expect this to be pretty much the most picked, the most picked map in the entire thing.
The ending is a bit difficult, but definitely.
It's kind of slicer part, isn't it? It's not that bad.
I mean,
Well, we still need the last 300 notes, which are probably a little bit denser. Yeah, they are.
yeah,
But it reminds me a little bit of Foxfall. Okay, that ending might be a bit tricky, that's true.
yeah, the
But
ending
if you
is
hold on
pretty
to the rest of the chart, then you probably have an accuracy advantage anyway.
Oh yeah. Hey, that is our final map of the regular pool, I believe.
No, we still have one more. We
You're
have
missing
our
isn't it?
SV
Oh, yeah, no.
pick.
Yeah, regular pool. I mean, except the SVs. We do have SV2.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
And this is another Orca map. This is Titan.
Yep.
It's the
Only
you can
3
call it
200s
the
and 1
memory.
100? Easy.
You can call it the memory-oriented pick, but I would say like it's
Look
got
at the
both elements of reading and memory. So
Oh my god.
The arrows! No! I'm scared. I'm sorry.
yeah, so this you're gonna see the difficulty in this.
Do we even need to talk about it? Like, they're gonna see it. When you see it,
I have no idea what's gonna happen
Can't be
here.
surprised. No, but usually you don't see that, so whatever.
easy map
That's funny.
so far. Easiest map on the pool so far.
Easiest map in pool so far. Yeah, so about this map, there's basically 2 PIs in this, and they correspond to the most, probably the jankiest SVs that you will see in this pool.
All
Janky,
right.
I mean, really dash jammy, really like. But
Totally right.
Aggressive. Intense. I like how the map gives you like 200 notes of free buffer. Like, if you miss here, you might as well just lose the map.
Yeah.
yeah.
There we go.
Oh yeah, and this is easily harder than Methane. I could V1 SS Methane, but I can't do it's hard to V1 SS this.
Let's go. Epic teleports with the trails as well. Oh, I like how the LN telegraphs the jack.
the
That's great.
instant- Yeah, the instant lines though pretty hard to underround. Oh, I
Yeah,
like
and so
reacting
you're-
to things.
You're gonna have to like basically memorize the rhythms because you can't just fast jam it. It's just like impossible to do so.
I mean, when you have a very long note and it's a 2-note jump, right? It's just a jump. Then you know that the teleport trill is gonna be first the long node and second the other node of the jump. So technically, you have some sort of ways to tell what's going to happen. So if you know the structure of the SVs, you don't need to memorize the entire thing.
Yeah,
you just need to remember that the jump symbolizes a sort of pattern to come on the teleports.
Yeah, absolutely. You can sort of use these as sigils to just like take some of the weight off your memorization and turn it into reading. But still, getting rid of the teleport, so to say, does not make it any easier because you still have to just basically make up all the rhythms in your head.
Oh my god,
Not easy at all.
That is very rough because you thought that all the snaps are 1/3, but there's actually a small gap between those notes. You listen to the music carefully. So
You
evil.
don't have to turn me up more than once. You do have to actually know how the song goes.
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's fire though.
Oh man.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite an interesting, very quite an interesting SV chart. Very analogous to Preserve from last year, which by the record I have opinions on. But it's gonna be very
Yeah,
interesting
that
to see
is.
if people are gonna try hard this. This seems like a very interesting chart to see in a game. Woo! With that, we
That will
conclude our
be
regular pool.
SB2. It's been a pleasure commentating and pulling for all of you. Thank you so much to the hosts, helpers, streamers, testers, referees, and fellow commentators for coming together for an event of this scale. And lastly, thank you to the players for participating. It would not have been possible without you guys. With that being said, I will be taking my farewell, at least for now. See you guys in the future.
Goodbye, everybody. Please stay here
Hope you
with
enjoy
our
this,
tiebreaker.
and we'll see you next week.